Hey everyone, Chris Sawyer here. The Varietal Show is back. I got an amazing bottle of wine right in front of me right here, Murder Ridge. We will talk about this in just a moment, but without further ado, Steve Alder. How you doing, brother?
Good.
Nice to
Nice.
be here in your neck of the woods. So I'm standing, he's sitting, but it's because we're on an angle here. And really right behind us is the Pearly Vineyard. And the Pearly Vineyard to me is a special vineyard. We've been talking a little bit about Old Vine Zinfandel and how this works. What we're talking about up here is Mendocino Ridge. It is actually an appellation, and it's unbelievable just how different this is. You hear that in the background? That was not a shot at me. That was a shot because there are bears up here.
Yeah.
And we are at about 2,000 feet, about 1,800 or so right
Yeah.
here. But you have different vineyards up here that you grow some Pinot, you grow some great Chardonnay grapes. But this is really kind of what started this area is really Zinfandel. And we are really 9 miles from the ocean looking that way, which is due west this way. Looking this way, we can see some smoke back there. So we're kind of looking towards Sonoma County. And in fact, the border of Sonoma County is about 2 miles right behind us here. But we are up at this very, very high level. And this is a thing about old homesteads that were up here. The Zini homestead, which is a Zini vineyard designate that you and your family have known this other family, George Zini, forever. And the original property was right down the hill from here, and you know because the old structure's there
No.
and those old fruit trees are there. So, Steve, thanks so much for having me here, and
Thanks for
it's been
having
fun.
me.
This is a crazy road.
Good.
People do not come up this road.
Yeah.
Just so you know, it's you drive a long ways up, and then you get on the gravel road, and that's when I got in Steve's truck because
Yeah.
I'm not driving mine all over the place, my little small car. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about your family's history, and you know, your grandfather purchased the property in the 1950s.
Yeah, actually March 19th, 1951. We've been here since then, and back then he bought it as a timber ranch.
Yeah.
With the idea that he was looking forward, and he said, yeah, hey, in San Francisco, everything's going to be a boom, and so this was a timber ranch till the early 90s. And what we're sitting on is the old homestead of the Perlys, and that's what we've taken our name from. It was Rosie and Santo Perli had a house right down here in the vineyard.
Wow.
And their barn was down here. Next door were the Zinis. On the other side was Santo's brother, Perli.
Yeah.
And so when we came, I showed up and started planting vineyards in '94.
Yep.
This was the very first vineyard we planted because that was the thing.
Yeah.
Zinfandel.
Zinfandel.
And nowadays Pinot and Chardonnay are king, but Zin is where all the old Italians brought the Zinfandel with them. They planted. It's all own rooted. We started this from the Zini vineyard with sticks from the Zini vineyard and the Duprat vineyard.
Yeah.
I went. I collected the wood, nurseryed it myself.
Yeah.
And then we started planting below us, which is called the Chivo block, which is totally hand-tended, no tractors.
Yeah.
You can't really see it too well on the video here. It's so steep, it's straight off the bank here.
Yeah.
And we planted Zin, and like I explained, it's both my best and worst decisions I've ever made in my life. It's just so difficult to farm.
Yeah.
That we spend way too many hours. It's not economical. But on the other hand, it makes terrific wine.
Yeah, nothing tastes like this wine. I mean, this is all about the character of this vineyard right behind us here. And the great thing is how we met was about 25 years ago. Yeah. You know, the guy had barely got these grapes in the ground here, but we were talking more about the Pearly and some of these other, the Capucci and these other Zinfandels that were made under the Edmeades label. So Edmeades, a lot of people might know it for Pinot Noir now and everything, but really the heart and soul of Edmeades to me was the Zinfandels in the 90s, and that's the great Van Williamson, or as we call him, the Vanimal. and he
Yeah.
is the real deal. And
Right.
he still gets fruit from up here, obviously, for his from
Witching
stick
stick line,
label.
Yeah.
But it's really because Van was making these vineyard designate Zinfandels from up here on the ridge, and this is really high up here, you guys. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that high, maybe, but that is a huge drop down there, and like I said, it takes a long time to drive up here. But I love the flavor of this wine, and I love that kind of wild raspberry, and there's that kind of a really nice no
Let's have it. Yeah.
yeah, it's that gun
Yeah.
again. But there's also like the blood orange and these kinds of notes that this has that are so beautiful and wonderful and cherished because this vineyard's so special.
Right. Well, one that we were talking about before. One of my philosophies is hands off.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to this vineyard that you're looking at in the background here and is on the other side of us, this is 100% dry farm. I am very stingy on using any fertilizer at all. What I want to come through is this place. I don't want to make wines that taste like somebody else's or produce grapes that taste like somebody else's. I want things that resemble the place they were at, whether they're whether that's better or worse or whichever.
Right.
I want it to speak of this spot.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's with the name Murder Ridge?
Well, there have been a few around, but up on the next ridge next to us, where our Pinot's planted in 1911, one of the homesteaders, Peter Giannoli, killed his neighbor and stole his wine.
Yeah.
And we planted a vineyard on the spot of the murder.
Yeah.
And so we had called that our Murder Ridge block. And when we started the small label, we only were doing 250 cases or so. Yeah. We decided, hey, let's go with the Murder Ridge name.
Murder Ridge.
And so Murder Ridge. So it's all, our vineyards are Pearly Vineyards, and the small label that we do is called Murder Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also a special little block up here that's called the Potato Patch. And a lot of cool producers get fruit from this vineyard as well. And that's just kind of right over the hill here. Yeah. It's actually up the hill a little bit.
Up the hill.
So I'm going to taste some right now. So this is Syrah, you guys. And the thing about Syrah that's so interesting is you can grow Syrah in cool climate conditions and hot climate conditions. And this is one that we were talking about a little bit earlier before we went on the air, is that with where we're at up here, Anderson Valley is just down on the other side. I mean, if we could draw a line as a crow flies and then drop a pebble, it would be about a mile that way, but then it would be a long ways down as the air goes down. It's warm down there during the day, but then it gets really cold. Up here, it's the other way around. It's warm here, but it doesn't really drop that much at night. So it's a warm night, kind of a cooler day, warmer night up here. So very, very interesting. We are above the fog line, and they call these the islands in the sky. This is the trademark name for up here at the Mendocino Ridge, and it's a very interesting appellation that was made in the late 90s. I think it was 1997, 96, 97, that was approved. And so, it's been a very special place, but it's just nice to kind of bring you guys up here so you can see what it looks like. And if we could see some of these other ridges here, you would see that the fog comes in, and these kind of down near those meadows way out there is where you would see the fog, but you're up above it. So you see all these places that are just kind of hovering above the fog line. So it's a fascinating area. And I think that these wines are just killer,
Thanks.
Yeah.
And the fog comes in, it sits about 1,200 feet, which is, so the Mendocino Ridge, actually a good buddy of mine, Dan Dooling at Mariah Vineyards and I, spent many evenings together writing that on a little 512K Mac with a little tiny screen. And
remember those, the old Macs?
Yeah, remember those? And so it's 1,200 feet and higher, but it's the only non-contiguous appellation in the United States. Yeah. So it's islands all above that line, and the areas in between are not actually in the appellation. So while this vineyard is in the appellation, the river down below, the Guala River, is not. This is the North Fork of the Gual River. The mountain to the distance is in the Appalachian.
Yeah.
So there's actually a space in between us that is not in the Appalachian.
Yeah.
So
Kind of
it's
crazy. Yeah. So this is really the Mendocino Ridge, you guys. I hope you guys have learned a little bit. It's been great being here with Steve. And once again, this is the amazing Murder Ridge wine that he bottles under this great label. And this is the vineyard that has really become something inside my heart, you know, the Pearly Vineyard. It's an amazing vineyard, and it's just something that's special in a place that most people will never see it, just because it's up here in the middle of nowhere. But it's a special place
we get
to us.
closer to town all the time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. On that
There
note,
you
boom.
go. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining in for the Varietal Show. It's always fun to have you guys with me and to meet these great people that I know so well, and these wines that are so fun to drink, especially when you get a sense of place like this really gives you. So thanks again, Steve.
All right, you bet.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Boom. See you guys later. Tune in next time for the Varietal Show. Boom.